Jackson here telling you today is February 19th, and we're talking about an El Paso soldier of fortune on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, streaming live on YouTube channel and on our Facebook page, El Paso History Radio Show, and streaming live on the Facebook page, Remember in El Paso When. And we always say, Texas history begins in El Paso. You agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
Okay,
after all these years, I have to agree.
Well, welcome, Melissa. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone out there staying nice and cool. It's a great day to be out. And I also want to remind everyone that people can also find us streaming live on the internet at ktsmradio.com, where you can then click on the iHeartRadio link and listen to us anywhere in the world.
And you did do a history moment for second hour.
Yes, I did. And it's basically about a mammoth find that was found here in El Paso.
Oh, I love that one.
You like
And,
that?
oh, yeah. And also,
play on words.
We have a couple of interesting announcements to make in the second hour. We'll talk about them when we get there. Today, our guest is Heribert von Feilitzsch. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jackson. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning, Harry.
Am I getting better at your name?
You're perfect.
Oh, there you go.
It's been years.
I know. I've been working on you. Heribert. And so, you're French Canadian. No, you're German, obviously. But your topic today, you picked it, and it's an interesting thing. He's an El Paso guy. It's a life of a soldier of fortune named Sam Dreben. Drebin, yeah. Drebin. And he was a respected El Paso businessman, ultimately. But before that, he did all kinds of stuff. He was possibly a spy during the Mexican Revolution. He spent time in Central America shooting, I don't know what to whom, but also he was a mercenary in the Mexican Revolution. And his life could be a great movie, right?
Oh, it's incredible. And you couldn't make this up. You know,
No.
I mean, he's been in every war from the Spanish-American War all the way to World War I, as a mercenary, as a soldier, as a sometimes spy, in all kinds of capacities.
He liked pulling the trigger, apparently.
Yeah, he was a machine gunner. That was his main income source.
And also, there was a book written about him called The Fighting Jew.
Mm-hmm.
And I would never use that term, but that's the name of the book. Art Leibson, how do you say that?
Leibson.
Leibson put that book out, featured on Facebook at Remember in El Paso When. They thank you for that. And they have also a newspaper article on Drebin. And he was a roommate of a Zork hardware company salesman, Bud Flanagan, who also traveled to Mexico. It's just how they all know all
Of
that
course,
stuff.
yeah.
Was is that where they got the Irishman connection? They said he had a really good friend that was an Irishman that traveled with him some of his
Flanagan.
adventures.
I mean, he had, he had some compatriots. He might have been one of them. Some people might know Tracy Richardson is another soldier of fortune from this area here, machine gunner. Then you have people with these illustrious names like John Dynamite Slim Madison.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
So there was a curious crowd around here, especially during the Mexican Revolution. And, the important thing is the skill level, and people like Drebin and Emil Holmdahl is another one. They were machine gunners, and they were in such high demand because these guns were not so easy to work. It was kind of a new invention. And, so somebody like Drebin and Holmdahl, they made more money than the generals of the units that they served in.
Well, take the story on. Tell us where we're going here.
Yeah, so Sam Dreben, like I said, is a curious personality. He's born in what today is Ukraine. At that time was Russian Empire. So central Ukraine, basically, in a Jewish family. And I think Leibson might have used the title Fighting Jew because Sam liked to refer to himself as the Fighting Jew. So his family moved to Odessa. From Odessa, young Sam wanted to search for his luck in the world and got on a ship, went to England, couldn't really make much of his own luck there, and continued on to the United States. And very similar, by the way, to Felix Somerville, the German spy that I've been researching for all this time. Somerville, also born around the same time. He was a year younger than Sam. Also wanted to find his luck in America and came over basically at the same time.
A lot of people came from Europe.
Oh, yeah.
To do this kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, America was the place where things were happening. And Europe, really, especially if you're Jewish, was not such a nice place. I mean, Sam, for example, just like Somerville, would have never been able to serve in the armies of the empires that they were residents of.
And also, when he got to El Paso, the Jewish community was well accepted here.
Oh, yeah. You had a bunch of merchant houses, and in fact, one of the nice histories written about Sam is written by a rabbi here in El Paso who knew him. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that Zork?
I forgot his name. Yeah,
Okay.
but
No, that was a hardware store.
No, but there was another.
Oh yeah, well, so he was Moje Krakauer. Adolf Krakauer was part of the Jewish community here. Schwartz Furniture,
Mhm.
right, is also one
Popular furniture.
popular furniture. Yeah. So
Popular dry goods, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, so Sam basically came over 1899 and immediately answered the call to help the American Army in the Philippines. So he joined the U.S. military almost right away as a young man and shipped out to the Philippines and fought in the Philippines. From there, he went to China, fought in the Boxer Rebellion for the Americans.
Was he here first and then went there?
No. Well, he landed in Philadelphia. He had family in Philadelphia, and from there, again, he joined the army. Went to San Francisco. I think from San Francisco, he shipped out to the Philippines, then to Beijing. Then he came back, tattled around with some things, didn't really know what to do. Then he joined the army again, 1902. Came to Fort Bliss, so that's the first time he's here in El Paso, and left the army, went to Central America, fought under Lee Christmas in a bunch of revolutions, came back after Lee Christmas won actually his little rebellion down there to reinstate the Honduran president, and so Sam came back, hung out in New Orleans with a bunch of other mercenaries that were unemployed at the time. And the future vice president of Mexico actually came through town and said, "Hey, anybody wants to come to Mexico? We're getting ready for a revolution."
Job for you.
Well, El Paso at that time was a kind of a very different place, wasn't it?
Very much so.
Can describe it as best you can.
Well, again, I mean, El Paso was a very important border town. The border crossing to Ciudad Juarez was one of the major money-making customs houses for the Mexican government. This is also why, when Madero starts the revolution, as soon as Ciudad Juarez fell, the president fell. So El Paso was a merchant community. Had some, had of course Fort Bliss and
the railroads helped everything happen. Yeah.
And but it was a hub for business, for merchandise coming through from Mexico. And you had the smelter here. You had all the investments in mining and so forth. A lot of the mining companies were based here that had investments in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I found the rabbi that you were referring to. He was Rabbi Martin Zilonka. I think that's correct.
Okay.
And the article he wrote was Sam Dreben the Warrior, and you can find it on Jewish-history.com.
Great.
And so he read the whole
that's
article.
where I saw
So
it. Yeah, very, very well written. Yeah, so Drebin in Fort Bliss is learning something that's really the signature thing for his future career, which is he learned how to operate a machine gun.
Were they that difficult?
It was super difficult.
Hi. Why?
First of all, it was a new technology, and one of the issues these machine guns had is that you had to do rapid fire, which means the bullets had to be in either chains or boxes basically that
Coming through quickly.
That come through quickly, and these things would heat up. They hadn't really thought much about how to keep these barrels cool, and so they would jam a lot. And
the expansion of the metal and the bullets and all,
very temperamental. And so Andrew, if you can pull up one of the machine gun pictures, I think there's one with Tracy Richardson, who's also a machine gunner. Let's see here, that would be 7. Yeah, there he is. You can see that's a Hotchkiss gun and a 8mm caliber. And these guys made more money as machine gunners than the generals commanding their units. So that was big money. And these guys, you had Richardson, Drebin, Holmdahl, they all started working in different factions in the Mexican Revolution, running these machine guns. Wow. And pretty good skill to learn. And so Sam hired up when Maria Pino Suarez, who was the future vice president of Mexico, came through New Orleans and said, "We need somebody to join us in the Mexican Revolution." Supposedly, Sam said, "All right, so where do I go and who do I fight?"
And also, where did Mexico get the machine guns?
Usually from the U.S. Although there's Manuel Mondragon, who was a general under the Diaz regime. He was an inventor, and he actually invented machine guns and also other guns.
They had that kind of machining capacity in Mexico?
Yeah. No, he actually his patents went to France, and his guns were used all over the world.
Were they? But I know at one time they were getting arms from overseas. Were they? I know that until the United States started to do a blockade because they weren't letting anybody go in with anything.
That's
But
right.
he said they manufactured them.
No, I know. I mean, but there was also they also got it from Europe too.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson, most of the guns, so what Mondragon did is he invented things. And there were a lot of, inventions. As you could see, World War I has all kinds of new weapons that weren't used before. And so the French actually used some of his designs. And one of the biggest contracts the Mexican army, the federal army, had was with the French government for cannon and also for machine guns.
Is that a particular person, or you got a group of them there now? What is that?
Yeah, it just shows
Put that up, Andrew.
Yeah, it just shows these mercenaries. Probably there's Drebin and Holmdahl or Richardson, one of them. And this is Richardson, this next picture here. And that's what they were there for. They literally did the machine gun implements, and that most Mexican soldiers couldn't operate.
Is Richardson the one with the hat in the middle of that picture that we just had up? He's wearing dark. He's wearing darker. Yeah.
And that's, so I'm afraid there's a gun nut out there that will challenge me. So I actually had to do some research on this.
You probably will be. Well, for those of you who are wondering, we just radio only. We have the pictures up on Facebook, and this radio program is streamed live on Facebook at El Paso History Radio Show. And it's an interesting thing to do here. We want to thank Mr. Andrew Polk in the control room for making all that happen and turning this radio show into a picture show. Appreciate that. He's also Monday through Friday, and he does the show here on 690 called Talk El Paso. Time for a break here at this point here. What do you got?
Where would you find the pictures if somebody is like driving and listening to the show, but they wanted to go look at them later on?
Yeah, I mean,
Facebook.
Well, you could, of course, look at the show,
Facebook.
But you can also, if you just, go to Wikipedia, for example, there's a page for Drebin, there's a page for Holmdahl, and so forth. So you can see a lot of those pictures there, too.
Machine guns?
Machine guns
Fair
as
enough.
well.
Well, there you go. It's everywhere. Machine guns are everywhere. All right. Shall we take a break here on the El Paso History Radio Show? We shall do that. And we can take a call or two, no?
Oh, I'd love to.
Why don't you throw that number out there?
Give us a call at 915-544-5876, 915-544 KTSM.
You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440-2140 for Mission Del Rey Southwest.
This radio show is now streaming on the Facebook page, Remember in El Paso When, run by Barbara Given Bainey. We still archive the audio of these radio shows on ephistory.com. And you can go there online and find our radio shows for the last several years. Go to ephistory.com and access the El Paso History Radio Show archives for every Saturday radio show back to early 2016.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.com. Take a look at recent ABC 7 news reports by Bernie Sargent on El Paso History TV about Waco tanks, the Franklin Mountains, Concordia Cemetery, and more. The YouTube channel also has more than 100 videos about El Paso history with lectures, documentaries, and various history clips. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV and find out how Texas history begins in El Paso. Monterey Asset Management is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, maybe you should invest in real estate. Monterey Asset manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the new website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call Certified Property Manager Ray Baca, 915-592-4549, 592-4549.
Here's the deal. When you combine State Farm home and auto insurance, you save an average of $889. State Farm agent Ralph Dickerson is ready to help you combine home and auto and save here in El Paso. Call 915-581-0000 today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Average annual per household savings based on a 2019 national survey by State Farm of new policyholders who reported savings by switching to State Farm.
You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live with video right here on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com. Our live streaming on Facebook started on November 21st, 2020, with our tribute to Leon Metz, which you can now listen to here on our Facebook page, El Paso History Radio Show. Scroll down our page to find that archive in our videos section. You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440-2140 for Mission.
We are that radio show on Facebook, and we're also on other places like YouTube. Let's go to youtube.com, El Paso History TV. We've got El Paso Gold DVDs up there over the last 20 years. I put a bunch of them on. ABC 7 series, we put on the TV show of their newscasts, and it's El Paso History TV. They're now online at youtube.com/El Paso History TV. It's an interesting thing we do there. What do you got?
Well, I want to tell everybody about one of our favorite show sponsors, and that's Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant located in Canutillo at 6761 Donovan Drive. You can call Pepe or Lorena at 915-877-2152 for a to-go order or having them catering your next special event. And don't forget, Pepe's is home of the one and only margarita.
How about a gift certificate? You could do that as well. Yeah. It's a wonderful thing to do there. Heribert von Feilitzsch is the guy who's sitting here with us this morning. And you know so many things about the Mexican Revolution. Take a quick moment and explain to our audience why we talk so much about the Mexican Revolution.
Yeah, I mean, the Mexican Revolution has a lot to do with El Paso and Texas. And so even today, we still are, looking at places like the Pancho Villa Stash House here in town. There's lots of places that are historic that have to do with the Mexican Revolution. We have
an announcement about that next hour.
Okay.
And it's coming.
Yeah. And El Paso expanded under the Mexican Revolution, in some ways not to the liking, with lots of refugees, but in other ways also people profited from the Mexican Revolution.
It was a generator, but some kind negative at times.
Well, a friend of mine said one day that he would love to write a book about the 10 people that did not partake in the Mexican Revolution around
El Paso. Yeah, it was an interesting time to be here.
Yeah.
And sitting over your shoulder, there's a man named Pancho Villa in the picture.
Yes.
If you're looking at us on Facebook.
Yeah.
And Pershing's next to him.
And,
okay.
Pancho Villa would come into town quite often. And have his ice cream. He didn't drink, so he would just come to the ice cream parlor, have an ice cream. There's a story where Orozco comes into town, and right at the beginning of the revolution, and big commotion, 1,000 people went after him when he went to the hotel. He just wanted to catch a good night's sleep. But I think the mayor thought it would be better if you go back to Ciudad Juarez, so they woke him up and ushered him out of town.
Oh my goodness.
I think you need to sleep somewhere else. Yes.
Yeah, but you can see how this Mexican Revolution had so much to do with the history of El Paso.
Oh, indeed. And that's why we do this.
Yeah.
So today you brought us a story. By the way, you're in town now. You live in North Carolina, generally speaking.
Generally speaking, yeah.
And so now you're here out researching a book.
Yeah, I'm very happy following my passions. And I'm working with a master in the field of history of the Mexican Revolution on a book that I can't say much about it yet, other than it will be about intelligence history, and it will have a national interest, I'm pretty sure.
We welcome your scholarship, sir.
Well, it's a wonderful, and I love the region anyway. And so, yeah, I'll be here for 3 months working.
Cool.
Excellent. All right. Now, we got about 4 minutes left before the break. You want to take a look at what Sam did, you said, in other parts?
Yeah, maybe just a little idea of how courageous these guys were.
We're talking about Sam Dreben, and he was a soldier of fortune who became an El Pasoan.
Exactly.
And a businessman here with that.
Well,
in the picture we had on Facebook, he looks pretty dapper there, don't you think, Melissa?
I think so. Yes.
Dapper dude.
If there's an actor, he looks a lot like.
Very respectable.
Yeah.
Andrew just put up a picture with him earlier, where he's in Central America. And this is a really interesting thing we have to consider is, the Central America, a lot of people that later partook in the Mexican Revolution earned their first badges of honor in Central America. There were lots of the banana wars, they're called, lots of revolutions going on, had to do with United Fruit and the U.S. government pushing one government over another, and then they would go to New Orleans, and this guy Lee Christmas, who Andrew, he's picture number 5. Pretty interesting guy. He would recruit mercenaries and go down there and just throw one president out and put another one in. So this went back and forth. Give you one funny story. So Tracy Richardson is another one of those soldiers of fortune who went with Christmas and Drebin and Holmdahl down there. And he marched into Managua, the capital of Nicaragua, by accident. He literally just stormed forward and realized, boy, that the Federals are there, and what do I do now? So he went up to the first guy and said, I am a messenger from General so-and-so, and you better give up. And talking about being cold he faced certain death, right? And so he convinced this
that gets you shot sometimes.
Convinced this poor commander to give up rather than risking being shot. And they were 10 guys. That was all of it. So these were daredevils. They were badasses. I mean, they were just unbelievably courageous. And so that's why Drebin to me is just one of those fascinating characters. And
Sam Dreben, Dreben.
Yeah.
Interesting character, and you picked him because of all of his associations all over the place.
Yeah,
and you researched him, I guess, when you're looking for stuff on Felix Somerville.
Exactly, because briefly he worked for Felix as one of his agents. So
and he did so many other things besides later on. He was a merchant or something besides being the soldier of fortune and such, but he tried to go do some different businesses and such.
Well, yeah. So Sam, first of all, very colorful. So his passion was certainly running a machine gun and getting paid big bucks for it.
Excitement, yeah.
You got a kick out of that, huh?
He was a horrible gambler. We know that. Starting already with his first stint in the army on the way from Philadelphia to San Francisco. He lost all the money for the trip in some game.
Well, he was a gambler with his whole life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And every time he made some extra money, he liked to gamble. And according to all his biographers, they are definitely in unison on this one. He lost basically every one of those games.
Oh my goodness!
All the way to the Punitive Expedition. By the way, he got fired by Pershing for fleecing some of the soldiers.
We'll get to Pershing in a minute. Okay. We're going to take a break here, Andrew. If you don't mind, tell us what we got in the way of social media going on. You got a bunch of people looking at us.
Oh, yeah, we got a lot of people chiming in here from all over the place. Keith Wilden specifically saying when it comes to some of the machine gunning use that he's out doing some weapon training for actors this morning himself, but that about those machine guns that prior to 1916, they were finicky at best. Talking about some of the other versions as well, that the Hotchkiss was prone to jamming due to the dirt into that open magazine. A lot of people may think about like belt-fed weapons these days. This was a clip that would then feed horizontally through it. So we got a picture of it right now over on how it worked on the page if you want to go and see for yourself that it was ancient technology from this standpoint. And yeah, so some of those chiming in here. Also another phrase that Keith Wilden mentioning here: arm blown off, give him a bowl of chicken soup. Here is all a famous Drebin saying.
That's a detail. Sam's mom told him.
I can imagine.
Chicken soup.
We got people from all over the country tuning in. We appreciate that. All right, taking a break here on the El Paso History Radio Show. Back in a moment. M1, you are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440-2140 for Mission Del Rey Southwest.
This radio show is now streaming on the Facebook page, Remember in El Paso When, run by Barbara Given Bainey. We still archive the audio of these radio shows on ephistory.com, and you can go there online and find our radio shows for the last several years. Go to ephistory.com and access the El Paso History Radio Show archives for every Saturday radio show back to early 2016.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his legacy home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.com. Take a look at recent ABC 7 news reports by Bernie Sargent on El Paso History TV about Waco tanks, the Franklin Mountains, Concordia Cemetery, and more. The YouTube channel also has more than 100 videos about El Paso history with lectures, documentaries, and various history clips. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV and find out how Texas history begins in El Paso. Monterey Asset Management is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, maybe you should invest in real estate. Monterey Asset manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the new website, m1ep.com, m1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call Certified Property Manager Ray Baca, 915-592-4549, 592-4549.
Here's the deal. When you combine State Farm home and auto insurance, you save an average of $889. State Farm agent Ralph Dickerson is ready to help you combine home and auto and save here in El Paso. Call 915-581-0000 today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Average annual per household savings based on a 2019 national survey by State Farm of new policyholders who reported savings by switching to State Farm.
You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live with video right here on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com. Our live streaming on Facebook started on November 21st, 2020, with our tribute to Leon Metz, which you can now listen to here on our Facebook page, El Paso History Radio Show. Scroll down our page to find that archive in our videos section. You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440-2140 for Mission Del Rey Southwest.
This radio show is now streaming on the Facebook page, Remember in El Paso When, run by Barbara Given Bainey. We still archive the audio of these radio shows on ephistory.com. And you can go there online and find our radio shows for the last several years. Go to ephistory.com and access the El Paso History Radio Show archives for every Saturday radio show back to early 2016.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his legacy home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.
And we got a caller on the line talking about machine guns in a moment, but I want to let you know you need to check out celebrationofourmountains.org. Talk to Jim Tolbert, and he is the Celebration of Our Mountains CEO, and he can be reached at 915-525-7364. They go on great little field trips. Kilburn's Hole volcanic crater coming up, and a birding trip to Ascarity. Have you been to Kilburn's Hole?
I have not.
Oh, you should.
It's out there,
it's a cool,
not far from
place to go.
From where you're staying in Las Cruces there. What do you got?
Well, Monterey Asset Management is now M1EP Management Corporation, and they are a superior property management services company. Visit their website at m1ep.com, and you can learn more about them there, or you can give them a call at 915-592-4549 to learn more about their services. Oh, let me not forget, I almost jumped out of the one. Looking to sell, buy, or rent a home? Then call this number, 915-588-1850, and talk with Patrick Tuttle of Caldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate. Patrick is a top-selling realtor and is a person to go to buy, sell, or rent a home. So call Patrick Tuttle today at 915-588-1850.
Good old Patrick. I saw him this week. He's a good guy. And also let you know that we have got a caller on the line, but Heribert von Feilitzsch is the guy sitting here in the hot seat. And we appreciate you coming in here. And like I mentioned, you're normally an East Coast guy. You glad to get out of that weather?
Well, I thought I would get out of the weather, but it turned out when I drove here, my car turned into a literal icicle. And,
goodness!
But it's warming up a little bit. But first days in my little flat, the water was frozen. So.
Oh, in Las Cruces.
Yeah. So,
but 5 seconds.
It does happen. There you go.
It does happen. Yeah.
All right, here we got a caller on the phone here, and he wants to talk about machine guns. How's it going, Alan?
Not too bad. The only thing I was going to bring up was a couple of things on the inventors of the machine guns. One, Maxim's probably the most famous. He was an American. The Maxim gun the Germans adopted. The Maxim gun, or Vickers Maxim, the British adopted. And then, of course, the 1910 and improved models of the Russian Maxim, which are recoil-operated guns. In fact, the Maxim was one of the few belt-fed machine guns that could work successfully with black powder ammunition, because gas-operated guns would jam them in no time. Mm-hmm. But Maxim gun could work very efficiently with black powder ammunition, one of the few that could.
You got one in your closet?
Big pardon, sir?
Do you have one in your closet?
No.
Okay.
I wish I don't have that type of money.
I got it. Okay, never mind.
I wish I did, but I don't.
And you usually don't mention those.
The other major machine guns used in if you think about it, all the major machine guns used in World War I and before that are American invention. The Maxim gun, Hiram Maxim. The Lewis machine gun is an American invention. The Hotchkiss and the Bernay Mercier machine rifle the Army used in the Columbus raid. That is American. They use a Hotchkiss feed strip. And of course, the Japanese 92, which was a much later gun. But and then the Browning guns. All these weapons were American inventions. There were some magazine-fed machine guns. Your magazine, you put in a pistol, the same basic. It's the Matson gun and the American Browning automatic rifle.
You're getting to the point where we got more information than we can handle here.
Yeah, but I'm letting you know they're very. They got the biggest problem with most of the machine guns was the ammunition.
Oh,
the ammunition was probably the biggest downfall. And of course, as they advanced, they got better. But your author is correct. The early guns, you had to have a pretty good technician with them to keep them operating efficiently.
Thank you kindly for your expertise. We do appreciate you calling in. Take care. Thanks a lot. All right, bye-bye. And that was Alan from Northeast, and he has got it figured out. Machine more than you ever wanted to know, Harry.
Well, no, I want to know more, but I think he basically made the correct point, which is these early machine guns were finicky as hell.
Yeah, Alan knows a lot about weapons. He's incredible.
Yeah.
So where are we going now? We've got a couple of minutes here in this break.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's talk about Drebin being recruited for the Mexican Revolution. Yeah. So he comes to El Paso and from there goes to Ciudad Juarez and works under the Madeira forces. So he got to know Orozco, he got to know Garibaldi, he got to know Pancho Villa, he got to know all the guys that later on played, other than Garibaldi who went home, but the others played a big role in the Mexican Revolution.
They were not all on the same side, those guys you mentioned, were they?
At that point, they were. So in the Madeira Revolution, they all worked together. And at the Battle of Ciudad Juarez in May 1911, that basically ousted dictator Diaz, was fought by Orozco as the colonel and Pancho Villa as Orozco as a general and Pancho Villa as a colonel, and so they won that. And there was Holmdahl, there was Drebin, there was Tracy Richardson. They all fought for the same guys. That changed pretty quickly, of course. Yeah.
Amazing stuff. I
So
tell you.
yeah, in 1913, Madero gets killed in the Decena Tragica, and so this is when the real civil war starts. All these different groups with different interests. So you have Carrancistas on one side. For a while, Pancho Villa fights under the Carrancistas, but then goes his own way. Orozco started already under Madero a rebellion, and Sam Dreben actually in 1912 joined Orozco, and so did Tracy Richardson. Orozco lost badly, and I guess Sam realized it would be better to bail out and do something else. Richardson
You
stayed
get shot
there.
at too much, huh?
Well, it's interesting, when Richardson applied to go into the U.S. Army again, they found 16 bullet holes in his body. He was shot so many times.
Hi.
Drebin only had one hit, which happened to him in Nicaragua. He got shot in the buttocks, and that was his only real injury. So despite him being in the hail of bullets most of his life, he only got one injury.
That's
Actually,
incredible.
So he didn't talk about that much, apparently.
Well, I wonder if the guys that designed the movie Forrest Gump were using were using Drebin as an example.
My
for that.
goodness.
Shot in the rear, yes.
Yeah.
So Drebin was part of the Mexican Revolution from early on.
Yeah, and I got interested in him because of Somerville, because in fighting the Orozco Rebellion in 1912, Drebin suddenly hires up with Orozco, and but at the same time he's actually friends with Somerville, who is fighting against Orozco. So I wondered if Somerville, who was running the Secret Service up here, hired him and infiltrated Orozco.
They're
Because there was
passing notes back and forth. You can bet.
that's definitely a possibility. Holmdahl, his buddy, for example, a few years later, is in the Carrancista forces, and he clearly gave information to Sommerfeld about what they're doing. So I think Sommerfeld might have hired these guys to help him with information, and they knew everybody, and they were always in the midst of the fight. So
Wasn't he a triple agent, basically?
Sommerfeld?
Yeah, double agent, triple agent. I mean,
That's a good question. I don't know. I think he always was loyal to one country, which was Germany.
Wow.
But he loved trading information. So
Yeah.
the American military got information from him. The Justice Department got information from him. Anybody that had something to give, Sommerfeld would give something.
did he
back.
get paid for all that?
He got paid mostly by commissions from imports of dynamite and munitions.
Wow.
So that's really where he got his money. But at one point, he made somewhere around $100,000 a week in today's money.
Well, the term soldier of fortune, that always showed that there was some kind of remuneration somewhere involved along the way.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. So the Drebin and Holmdahl, those guys got paid quite well. Drebin was not so good saving up his money because of his gambling thing. Like I said, he wasn't very lucky at that. But
Oops.
at the very end today, we'll see how he becomes a respectable businessman in El Paso, though. So somewhere along the line, he did turn the corner.
So we haven't gotten through his whole movie at all, by any means.
No, we're still in the middle.
I was just saying.
All right. Well, take another. Well, should we take a break here at this point? Here, might as well do that. And Andrew, what do you got in the way of social media? Got any more things going on?
Oh yeah, people tuning in from all across the country
Got
here.
Angie in Colorado.
Also Victor Luciano Guzman in Casas Grandes, Arizona. Erica Reason from West Alabama. Lisa Lee over on our YouTube page from Houston. Harry Kirk from the East Side. So all ports near and far. And Mark Morales from northern NorCal, way he puts it here. So people tuning in all over the place and fascinated to hear this history about how this guy the movie needs to be made. I fully agree.
Yeah, that was Melissa's idea when you first heard about this guy.
Yeah, I just think he's everything that you don't even need to make the character up.
Like Harry said, you can't make this up.
Exactly. I mean, this is what fascinates me about most history is if you really look at some of these things, you couldn't make this up if you tried.
And it's a better story.
Way better.
Yeah.
And you can actually document it.
I mean,
otherwise you would be accused of lying.
Well, but what you've got is you're the guy that goes in and figures out the archives and who did what to whom. And And so you do a lot of research on original documents when you can, of course.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically my thing. I mean, I literally go to original archives and I try to correlate. You know, as a historian, I have 20/20 hindsight. I can look at German documents, American documents, Mexican documents, look at the same issue and look at it from three sides. So it's like a mosaic, and you usually come up with a pretty good picture.
Melissa, what do we go to if people want to make a comment on Facebook? What is our page there?
Oh, the El Paso History Radio Show Facebook page. It's really easy to make a comment there.
Excellent. All right, we'll be back in just a moment on the El Paso History Radio Show. You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440-2140 for Mission Del Rey Southwest.
This radio show is now streaming on the Facebook page, Remember in El Paso When, run by Barbara Given-Baney. We still archive the audio of these radio shows on ephistory.com. And you can go there online and find our radio shows for the last several years. Go to ephistory.com and access the El Paso History Radio Show archives for every Saturday radio show back to early 2016.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his legacy home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.com. Take a look at recent ABC7 news reports by Bernie Sargent on El Paso History TV about Waco tanks, the Franklin Mountains, Concordia Cemetery, and more. The YouTube channel also has more than 100 videos about El Paso history with lectures, documentaries, and various history clips. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV and find out how Texas history begins in El Paso. Monterey Asset Management is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, maybe you should invest in real estate. Monterey Asset manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the new website, m1ep.com. m1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call Certified Property Manager Ray Baca, 915-592-4549, 592-4549.
Here's the deal. When you combine State Farm home and auto insurance, you save an average of $889. State Farm agent Ralph Dickerson is ready to help you combine home and auto and save here in El Paso. Call 915-581-0000 today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Average annual per household savings based on a 2019 national survey by State Farm of new policyholders who reported savings by switching to State Farm.
You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live with video right here on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com. Our live streaming on Facebook started on November 21st, 2020, with our tribute to Leon Metz, which you can now listen to here on our Facebook page, El Paso History Radio Show. Scroll down our page to find that archive in our videos section. You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History. We'll get back to our man, a soldier of fortune, Sam Dreben, in a moment. I did let you know that Rick Kern has a music podcast called Talk and Rock Radio. So if you want to go look at something interesting about El Paso history and music, talkandrockradio.com. What do you got?
Well, Mission Del Rey has just knocked out some walls in the store to add a new alpaca room. They're featuring soft plush alpaca blankets, cape shawls, and throws. Don't miss their clearance section, which includes scratch and dent items as well as closeouts. And you can also shop online at missiondelrey.com or visit their store located at 1421 Lee Trevino, Suite A7. Their phone number is 915-440-2140. Oh, and don't forget to mention you heard about this on the El Paso History Radio Show to receive a discount for your purchase.
And you should take your visitors there when they come to town.
Oh, yeah.
Someplace interesting to go. And also the decor that they have for your home is really kind of an interesting thing that they do. A lot of gifts and souvenirs, but stuff you can put on the walls, that kind of thing. And lampshades, that kind of stuff. Heribert von Feilitzsch is in here talking about all kinds of stuff. And mainly, you want to describe a dynamite train. What was that? Who did that?
Well, this is one of the things that supposedly Drebin was famous for. I know
our soldier of fortune named Drebin.
Yeah, Sam. And so it was called the Machina Loca, and it was basically the crazy train. So the idea there was when the Federals would be encamped in a city or something like that, the rebels would outfit a train, a machine, a locomotive with dynamite, and then set the power on full steam and let it run down the hill into the poor people defending this town. And of course it would be a massive explosion. People will run all over the place. And so
a lot of people, I'm sure.
Drebin definitely witnessed some of that, whether he himself did it or not, like some of his biographers are saying, I don't know, but
that could go in the movie, whether he did it or not, right?
Hey, can you imagine that thing coming down the hill?
Wow.
And they had the whistle on full blow, right? So that it also made a lot of noise when it came down, and people were just, scampering to try to find.
They used a lot of trains throughout the revolution to kill people and just do damage. So it doesn't surprise me.
They must have been good at quickly fixing the tracks, because they must have destroyed tracks.
Well, so we earlier mentioned Dynamite Slim, right? This guy that was famous for destroying railroad bridges and so forth. And one of his favorite things was to have a hook behind a locomotive, and he would just hook to the rails and just run that locomotive, and behind him, basically the entire railroad would be a twisted mess.
Flipping the rails out from under him, behind him.
Yeah.
How did they do that? They had a lot of people ready to fix the railroads?
Well, Pancho Villa had so before they went to battle, they moved most of their troops by rail. So it was really important to fix bridges and stuff like that. And he actually had a troop that was on rails that was there to fix bridges and the rails before they got to battle. So they had a whole trainload of people with all the equipment they needed and so forth.
Villa must have traveled with a whole lot of people, because he also carried a lot of his stolen gold and wealth with him, didn't he?
That didn't take up that much, But if you imagine a revolutionary troop at that time, they were using the railroads. Pancho Villa had a hospital train that was one of his inventions that actually made waves in Europe, and the Germans and the French started using the same thing. So he had a whole train that was a hospital train with doctors and nurses and beds and so forth, where they helped out people that got injured in the battles. Then, of course, the soldiers traveled by train with their horses. So a lot of those troop trains had horse carriages, and on top of the trains were then the riders and so forth. And most of the soldiers had their wives with them and their family. So the wives were responsible for cooking tortillas and making sure the soldiers were fed. One of the biggest problems Villa had in his last campaign in Sonora was that the wives had to stay home, and because they couldn't take trains, and that was one of the reasons mentioned for people having pretty low motivation to fight.
And so they actually didn't use the railroads because they were broken or torn up, or what?
Well, whoever had to use the railroads also had to have a train to fix them. So that's what they did. Before they went anywhere, they would send this train with all the materials and hammers and screws and whatever they needed, and they would fix overnight the railroad, so that the next day the troops could move.
They wouldn't be Chinese. He didn't like Chinese people.
No, he was actually known for wanton killings of Chinese residents in Mexico. Yeah,
he's a tough guy, too many ways. And so and again, he's right over your shoulder.
Yeah, I know. I have to be careful what I say.
Wondering here.
A lot of prejudice going on there.
There he is. Well, okay, we got about a minute left here before the break here. You got one more quick story about any of this kind of stuff? I mean, talk about the dynamite train again for a second. When they set that off, how do you get all the dynamite to go off at once?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if they actually had a fuse lit and kind of timed it correctly, though it would explode. It could also be when it crashed that the dynamite somehow would be set off.
Because fire from, if you put it maybe in the cab
Well, I mean, as these were coal-fired trains, you would think that if that thing crashes, there's going to be fire.
Yeah, there's good sparks everywhere.
So most likely. But if you think about, like 800 pounds of dynamite on one of those things,
you think they put it on the front of the train, or what would they do? I'm curious.
That's probably in the back. The front was the where they had the water tank and so forth, the boiler. So it would probably be in the back. But again, there is probably a caller out there that's going to raise hell.
This is how they did dynamite trains.
What is the liquid explosive that you always have to be so careful with?
Nitroglycerin.
They didn't have that.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
they did. Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah.
It was around a long time.
Can you imagine being in a coach with a box of nitroglycerin?
Well, you might not be in there long. You might be out in the desert real fast.
Might get there quicker than you think.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. We're talking with Heribert von Feilitzsch, and he is an expert on many things, World War I leading up to, and a lot of it Mexican Revolution. And that's what we're looking at today, is a soldier of fortune that you picked out to talk about today, Sam Dreben.
Sam Dreben.
We'll get to more of Sam Dreben after the break here at the top of the hour. We're gonna go away and come back. Don't go too far, folks, because we shall return. And Melissa, you coming back after?
I shall be back.
I'll bet you'll be here.
I shall return.
Andrew, you going to show up? Andrew always shows up. All right, thanks a lot. See you all after the break here on the El Paso History Radio Show. You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440-2140 for Mission Del Rey Southwest.
This radio show is now streaming on the Facebook page, Remember in El Paso When, run by Barbara Given Bainey. We still archive the audio of these radio shows on ephistory.com. And you can go there online and find our radio shows for the last several years. Go to ephistory.com and access the El Paso History Radio Show archives for every Saturday radio show back to early 2016.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his legacy home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.com. Take a look at recent ABC 7 news reports by Bernie Sargent on El Paso History TV about Waco tanks, the Franklin Mountains, Concordia Cemetery, and more. The YouTube channel also has more than 100 videos about El Paso history with lectures, documentaries, and various history clips. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV and find out how Texas history begins in El Paso. Monterey Asset Management is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, maybe you should invest in real estate. Monterey Asset manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the new website, m1ep.com. m1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call Certified Property Manager Ray Baca, 915-592-4549, 592-4549.
Here's the deal. When you combine State Farm home and auto insurance, you save an average of $889. State Farm agent Ralph Dickerson is ready to help you combine home and auto and save here in El Paso. Call 915-581-0000 today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Average annual per household savings based on a 2019 national survey by State Farm of new policyholders who reported savings by switching to State Farm.
You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live with video right here on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Our live streaming on Facebook started on November 21st, 2020, with our tribute to Leon Metz, which you can now listen to here on our Facebook page, El Paso History Radio Show. Scroll down our page to find that archive in our videos section. You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440-2140 for Mission Del Rey Southwest.
This radio show is now streaming on the Facebook page, Remember in El Paso When, run by Barbara Given Bainey. We still archive the audio of these radio shows on ephistory.com. And you can go there online and find our radio shows for the last several years. Go to ephistory.com and access the El Paso History Radio Show archives for every Saturday radio show back to early 2016.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his legacy home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.com. Take a look at recent ABC 7 news reports by Bernie Sargent on El Paso History TV about Waco tanks, the Franklin Mountains, Concordia Cemetery, and more. The YouTube channel also has more than 100 videos about El Paso history with lectures, documentaries, and various history clips. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV and find out how Texas history begins in El Paso. Monterey Asset Management is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, maybe you should invest in real estate. Monterey Asset manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the new website, m1ep.com. m1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call Certified Property Manager Ray Baca, 915-592-4549, 592-4549.
Here's the deal. When you combine State Farm home and auto insurance, you save an average of $889. State Farm agent Ralph Dickerson is ready to help you combine home and auto and save here in El Paso. Call 915-581-0000 today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Average annual per household savings based on a 2019 national survey by State Farm of new policyholders who reported savings by switching to State Farm.
You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live with video right here on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com. Our live streaming on Facebook started on November 21st, 2020, with our tribute to Leon Metz, which you can now listen to here on our Facebook page, El Paso History Radio Show. Scroll down our page to find that archive in our videos section. You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440-2140 for Mission Del Rey Southwest.
This radio show is now streaming on the Facebook page, Remember in El Paso When, run by Barbara Given Bainey. We still archive the audio of these radio shows on ephistory.com. And you can go there online and find our radio shows for the last several years. Go to ephistory.com and access the El Paso History Radio Show archives for every Saturday radio show back to early 2016.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his legacy home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.com. Take a look at recent ABC 7 news reports by Bernie Sargent on El Paso History TV about Waco tanks.
Jackson here to talk about Melissa Sargent because she's got the El Paso History Moment produced by herself, and the El Paso History Alliance page is what she does that for. Her story today is about an El Paso El Paso Ice Age event.
A mammoth of a find. In 1922, construction workers are busy digging out what would become the basement of the future Loretto Academy in the Austin Terrace neighborhood, when the workers' shovels uncover some very large, odd-looking bones buried in the soil. The Trost & Trost architectural firm working on Loretto Academy decides to call in Professor Simone of the Texas College of Mines to look over the discovery. Dr. Simone, very excited by this find, concludes that apparently during the El Paso's glacial period over 10 to 20,000 years ago, that the area that is now Austin Terrace was all marshland and attracted prehistoric creatures both large and small, and that these excavated remains were that of one adult male with a very infected tooth and a female mastodon. The doctor also speculated that it appeared the male had wandered into the marsh to seek relief from the bad tooth, only to find himself stuck in the quicksand hidden beneath the marsh waters. His faithful mate apparently attempted to help her rather large spouse, only to find herself trapped forever, and eventually rendering a treasure trove of artifacts for the research in the 20th century. The artifacts were turned over to the Trost & Trost architectural firm and ultimately donated to Professor Simone and the Texas College of Mines. More history next week on El Paso History Moments. I'm Melissa Sargent for the El Paso History Alliance.
And you do that so well, being an ICE agent.
Yes, and I'd like to know where those bones went, because who is this professor? You know?
Can you imagine? But that was all over the place.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's probably still other remains underneath Loretto.
El Paso's got all kinds of history buried under it, you know. It's amazing. All right, you do this for the History Alliance page.
Yes, and if you do enjoy learning about history of the El Paso region, you can also visit these great Facebook pages, the El Paso History Alliance, a group of historians who promote the architectural history and culture of El Paso, and is managed by Max Grossman and Mark Stone. And remember in El Paso When, with thousands of pictures, stories, and much more. And that's managed by Barbara Given-Bainey and her team of volunteer editors.
They're good people. She's the chief admin, owner, and historian, Barbara, and Rick Duncan is an admin, Rick Nahara, Margaret Smith, Paul Louie, Ben Vincent, and Ken Weiss. A bunch of people. And they donate their time to make that happen.
A lot of time, yeah.
And so take a look at that when you get a moment. All right, Heribert von Feilitzsch is here. And Harry, we were talking just before the break about dynamite trains. And I think Andrew got a call from off air.
I knew it would happen. I knew it would happen.
Of course. But Alan is not only a gun guy, but where's Andrew? Alan is also apparently a dynamite guy. So, Andrew, what was that deal?
So yeah, Alan chimed back in to let us know that dynamite, in the question about how the Machina Loca you were describing there works, that dynamite is bullet sensitive, so that you could shoot it, or there were timed fuses that you could do, end up going into blasting caps. So, I mean, if there's enough proficiency, you can figure out how long it needs to go, could figure that out. Or if you got the train going fast enough and had it crashing into something, it could also go off there. So, and yeah, they did definitely have nitroglycerin. Nitroglycerin, a component of dynamite, just made slightly more stable by the adding of those other stabilizing elements.
Well, now we're getting a lesson on how to blow up things. I don't think we're going to have that opportunity, but it's interesting to hear.
Well, you can imagine
the history.
You can imagine how nice it would be to hire some veteran from other wars to help you out, because there's a lot of knowledge required.
And that's what Sam Dreben was.
Exactly.
Yeah. He'd been through a lot of this
and
stuff.
Holmdahl and Tracy Richardson, all of them. Yeah.
Tracy Richardson, how did he die while serving as a soldier, or did he die later on?
Yeah, it's a sad story. So Tracy Richardson, supposed to be the greatest machine gunner the world has ever seen. That was kind of his claim to fame, his title. And just like Drebin, he fought in Central America, then he fought in the Mexican Revolution. After the revolution, he kind of was in the Adventurers Club and made great stories of some of them maybe slightly exaggerated of his exploits in the Mexican Revolution. Ends up going to World War II as a lieutenant colonel.
Two.
Yeah, World War II. After the war is over, he is somewhere in Missouri selling household goods. I think his luck ran out, and he died virtually unknown somewhere in Missouri in 1949 or so.
Did they make a living doing this? They get paid being a mercenary?
Well, yeah,
I mean, that's the whole word.
That's also why you see them fighting for anybody. Like Drebin said, where is it and who do I fight?
Yeah,
exactly. They just paid.
Here's my bank account number.
Yeah, and I mean, this is really important. If you think about these guys, of course, they're incredible exploits, and you can admire how courageous they were and so forth. But on the other hand, you also have to see that they had very little ethics and morals. They just kind of hired up whoever paid best, and one day they would shoot the Federales, and the next day they would work for that exact general and shoot up the.
No big deal. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you want to take us now in the Sam Dreben story?
Well, I was thinking about let's dig a little bit into the Mexican Revolution.
Sure.
We already touched upon it, the Madeira Revolution. So in May 1911, Madero wins the Battle of Ciudad Juarez. Diaz exits, and Madero is now the leader of Mexico, becomes president in November. And so Drebin, in this time period, again hires up with Orozco, who's fighting Madero. Whether he did that on behalf of Somerville or not, I can't prove for sure. Then after Madero is killed in 1913, the Carranza declares himself in revolt. Pancho Villa is one of his generals. And so for a time, Drebin fights under Salazar, for example, another Mexican general who had spent a lot of time right here in El Paso. Actually, he's quite a well-known guy. And so by 1914, the big business was really smuggling munitions. And so this is what Somerville was excellent at, and he hired Sam. So Sam basically was here in El Paso working with Somerville on procuring munitions and getting them across the border and supporting, in this case, the Villistas. And so Somerville, when World War I broke out in the summer of 1914, he moved to New York. And so Drebin was actually his representative right here in El Paso. Just kind of funny, yeah. So everybody knew if you wanted to get something from Somerville and his people, you just talked to Sam. And he had a house on Montana Avenue.
Accessible, real easy.
Yeah. And, unlike he's portrayed in some of the movies, he's in most movies about Pancho Villa, you can see him represented as the machine gunner. And it's usually like this really tough guy and so forth. The descriptions of him are quite different. He was.
So he really was not that actor type.
No. He was small in stature. He had a extremely heavy accent.
Well, he was Ukrainian. He was Ukrainian, correct?
Yeah, he was Ukrainian, and so he barely had learned English. So he was not. He had definitely a very harsh accent, and he was, from all accounts that I read, he was extremely nice and polite. So you would never even think that behind this facade of this nice guy that is kind of small is like this incredible fighter, warrior, who went to every war that happened in that time period.
He liked that.
He liked that, yeah. And so he was also very well liked right here in El Paso. It's kind of funny when he got a little bit in trouble, like most of the guys here in town that had something to do with the Mexican Revolution. He got caught smuggling arms, and the Bureau of Investigation actually brought a case against him. He got arrested, and I think somebody gave him money for bail, and so he's awaiting trial. And so what does he do? He just talks to people. He makes little deals and so forth. And sure enough, he got off. Sweet talked the jury, whatever. He was just a well-liked guy. So very different from these harsh portrayals when you see him as
two different personas.
The warrior, yeah. But definitely very courageous guy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Incredible.
You had a picture you want to make sure we work into this conversation.
Yeah. So
what number is that?
let's look at the first one, maybe the number 10. So this is a picture that, there it is. So this is a photograph that shows Drebin, the second from left, and the third from left is Tracy Richardson, actually. And they're fighting with the Orosquistas in the Mexican Revolution. That's one of the pictures they took. And you can see him with a cartridge belt across his chest and stuff like that, but again, that was a public persona.
Wouldn't that be a little bit dangerous if you got hit with a bullet that several would go off, maybe?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, they all had that, so
yeah,
it must have been okay. Like I said, I mean, he got plenty shot at, but he never got injured at all. Holmdahl actually got injured really badly in that Orozco rebellion, and he actually had to come to El Paso, and he was out of commission for a long time.
Recuperated here in the town.
Who's that we got up there now?
Yeah, this is Emil Holmdahl.
Okay.
Another one of those mercenaries, fought with Drebin in Central America, fought with Drebin in the Mexican Revolution. In the end, you're talking about how these guys ended up. Holmdahl was caught in Mexico in the 1920s, and where near Parral, where Pancho Villa was buried, and as it happened, Pancho Villa's head had disappeared.
Oh.
And so Holmdahl was blamed
for
that, and it was never proven.
Was he in a fraternity on the East Coast?
Well, so the Skull and Bones at Yale supposedly have this. So it's never been proven, and he firmly stated that it was just by accident, by coincidence, that he was there the day that the head disappeared.
How many of these guys were there out there? I mean, you just mentioned 3 or 4 of them. Were there hundreds of them?
I wouldn't say hundreds, but in the Madeira Revolution, there was actually a whole unit that was Americans.
Well, I'm thinking around the world, there probably were hundreds of people that,
Oh, yeah.
That's what they like. That's what they like to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think of Lee Christmas, he was kind of like the Blackwater of the time. He had like these mercenary armies with these highly trained either veterans or people that he somehow scrounged up. And so, yeah, mercenaries still exist. They fight in Africa. They fight all over.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what were the Germans that were Mexican American Revolution were? I want to say it's Hessians. Thank you. They were mercenaries.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
that's true.
Talking about my own family, being on the wrong side of history, one of my ancestors actually was in the Saxonian army, and the Saxonian army was sold to the British to help in the American Independence War.
Man, there's a lot that's gone on. It's nice that you're a decent dude now, but appreciate your history.
Yeah.
All right, taking a break here. Andrew, you got some social media people to mention?
Yeah, a lot of people still fascinated by this. Florian Vital commenting when you mentioned Missouri as the resting point of Tracy Richardson, saying now I need to look him up for sure, and appreciating the show that way. Monica Cervantes tuning in a little bit late here, but also some comments about there. Victor Luciano Guzman with an interesting one that forgot one of the gentleman's name from this time period, but that remember that he collected gold and silver teeth from dead federales. So comment also there like Steve DeVitt about the real impact that came from the revolution and how it even impacted the people who live now within some of the northern territories of Mexico.
That's great. Steve Devitt, by the way, is the author of a book on Ricardo Flores Magón called The Pen That Set Mexico on Fire. It's a great book, so if anybody wants to...
That's when he invented that?
Magón was one of the precursors of the Mexican Revolution and kind of started the Mexican Revolution with his newspaper. So he was a journalist.
Oh, that kind of pen.
So
okay.
It's a great book. Anyway, so
you're listening to Heribert von Feilitzsch, and he'll be at Pepe's today appearing. And you said you're going to bring some books you can let people have.
Yes, I got some books, and we'll hand them out for free.
Oh, okay, even better. Fair enough. All right, taking a break on the El Paso History Radio Show. Melissa, throw the number out there. Why don't you?
They can give us a call at 915-544-5876 or 915-544-KTSM.
You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440-2140 for Mission Del Rey Southwest.
This radio show is now streaming on the Facebook page, Remember in El Paso When, run by Barbara Given Bainey. We still archive the audio of these radio shows on ephistory.com, and you can go there online and find our radio shows for the last several years. Go to ephistory.com and access the El Paso History Radio Show archives for every Saturday radio show back to early 2016.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his legacy home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.com. Take a look at recent ABC 7 news reports by Bernie Sargent on El Paso History TV about Waco tanks, the Franklin Mountains, Concordia Cemetery, and more. The YouTube channel also has more than 100 videos about El Paso history with lectures, documentaries, and various history clips. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV and find out how Texas history begins in El Paso. Monterey Asset Management is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, maybe you should invest in real estate. Monterey Asset manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the new website, m1ep.com, m1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call Certified Property Manager Ray Baca, 915-592-4549, 592-4549.
Here's the deal. When you combine State Farm home and auto insurance, you save an average of $889. State Farm agent Ralph Dickerson is ready to help you combine home and auto and save here in El Paso. Call 915-581-0000 today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Average annual per household savings based on a 2019 national survey by State Farm of new policyholders who reported savings by switching to State Farm.
You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live with video right here on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com. Our live streaming on Facebook started on November 21st, 2020, with our tribute to Leon Metz, which you can now listen to here on our Facebook page, El Paso History Radio Show. Scroll down our page to find that archive in our videos section. You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440-2140 for Mission Del Rey Southwest.
This radio show is now streaming on the Facebook page, Remember in El Paso When, run by Barbara Given Bainey. We still archive the audio of these radio shows on ephistory.com. And you can go there online and find our radio shows for the last several years. Go to ephistory.com and access the El Paso History Radio Show archives for every Saturday radio show back to early 2016.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing.
And we're back. Got a couple of special announcements coming up after this. And I'll tell you right now, next week on the show, Patricia Kidney and Sharon Fortner, they're bringing us the history of the Texas independence. And they are both members of the Daughters of the Republic of Texas. And you got a special announcement coming up here.
I know I do. Well, I'm trying to find it.
Number 10, page 10.
Yeah, it got spilled over. Oh, let me have it. Okay, there we go. All right. You can set your calendar for March 1st at 8 p.m. to watch the History Channel. They're going to be showing a program called Beyond Oak Island. And it's the Pancho Villa's Plunder. It is about the Pancho Villa stash house located at 333 Leon Street in downtown El Paso. And the show host is going to team with El Pasoans to hunt for buried treasure at the stash house of the famous Mexican revolutionary leader, leading to a number of historic discoveries.
And if you've ever seen the History Channel show The Curse of Oak Island, they go around looking for stuff on this island up in Newfoundland all the
They
time.
ran out of holes to dig, I think.
They got more holes they keep digging.
I know.
They're in their 9th season of doing that. So they started a secondary series called Beyond Oak Island, and that's what this is. There'll be an episode on El Paso coming up on March 1st about 8 p.m.
Yeah.
That's Mountain Time.
There was a bunch of, there were you and Bernie and Harry. Didn't you get?
Well, a lot of people got interviewed.
Yeah. Whether you're going to hit the floor with tape or what.
Well, who
It'd be
knows?
interesting to
But
see.
it is a great show, and it's historically valuable. I think the Curse of Oak Island. They've been digging and digging and digging.
9 years.
Going, okay, but this is they really go around the country and they find
Beyond Oak Island is the name of this series.
Yeah,
and it's Pancho Villa's Plunder.
Yeah, and it's historical. They really put a lot of emphasis on making.
Unlike so many of them that
and
just
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Cool.
So interesting. All right. Next break, we got another special announcement coming up here. In the meantime, we've got Heribert von Feilitzsch here, and you wanted to take us where on your journey here with Sam Dreben, soldier of fortune, one of many apparently who are around here. But what happened?
Well, so maybe we go a little further through the Mexican Revolution because, like Melissa said earlier, some of the things that these guys do you couldn't make up if you tried.
Oh yeah.
So here's Sam, basically caught smuggling munitions, gets arrested, posts bail, and is awaiting his trial. And so then he's thinking to himself, well, maybe I should join the army again.
Why not?
And so the good thing that happens is for him is not really good, but Pancho Villa decides to attack Columbus, New Mexico. If you all remember, Pancho Villa basically falls on hard times in 1915. And disbands his division of the North and retreats into the mountains.
President Wilson got on his case and gave him all kinds of heck.
Yeah, well, and you just mentioned the stash house. They were raiding in El Paso places where Pancho Villa had either munitions or money. And in the stash house, they found a bunch of money and jewelry and so forth. And so they literally cut him off. And but he does not disappear per se. He just regroups and comes back. First in January, killing a bunch of mining engineers right here from El Paso, which was a horrible thing.
Gringos,
it upset the citizens so much there were literally race riots here that had to be put out by the military. And then in March 1916, Pancho Villa attacks the little town of Columbus, New Mexico. And
probably because it was easy.
It was probably a target of opportunity, and although they obviously didn't realize how many soldiers were there, so they got decimated. I mean, they lost I think 70 people in the raid itself, and another 30 with Thompson riding after them.
And that's reenacted every year on March 9th.
Yeah, so that might be something for people here in town. Come over to Columbus. I think it's the weekend after March 9th is the Cabalgata, where Mexican riders.
They ride up from Mexico.
From Mexico.
We trace the tracks of the soldiers.
Yeah, and it's a big party, and it's it's really important to I think to work together with our neighbors. And,
there's no gunfire on these, generally speaking.
Not that I've ever seen. There's some drinking and tortillas and so forth, but no gunfire.
Are you going to be speaking, or because I know a lot of times they also have speakers, historians, people telling stories and things that what they've learned.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be just a visitor this year.
Okay.
I've been there for the 100-year anniversary. I gave a keynote.
Well, in the camps there, you can go where the old military camp was,
and they have a state park. Pancho Villa State Park.
That's
Pancho
the
Villa
state park,
and they have an exhibition hall.
Old tank.
Let me just. I did one of the exhibitions in the exhibition hall. So if you look at the history of how the Columbus raid came about, those panels I donated, and it's a great place, and it's life history. In fact, downtown Columbus hasn't changed much since 1916.
Is it basically just still a crossroads there?
Yeah.
The depot is still there, and
go to Columbus for lunch, just down the street. Yeah.
And 100 feet of track, it goes nowhere.
Yeah, well, and then you have these burned down. So the buildings, the ruins of the buildings are still there. So you can see. I mean, the vistas burned down basically most of the town.
And that track used to go on what is now the Highway 9 from El Paso.
Okay.
And that's
So-
why the train's gone. They put a highway
Yeah.
there. Heribert von Feilitzsch is our guest here, talking more next half hour on various things. And another special announcement coming up after we talk about El Paso Week. But we got to take a break here first.
Let's take a
And
break.
should we do that?
Yes, I
Back
think
in a
we
moment
should.
on the El Paso History Radio Show. You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440-2140 for Mission Del Rey Southwest.
This radio show is now streaming on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Barbara Given Bainey. We still archive the audio of these radio shows on ephistory.com, and you can go there online and find our radio shows for the last several years. Go to ephistory.com and access the El Paso History Radio Show archives for every Saturday radio show back to early 2016.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his legacy home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.com. Take a look at recent ABC 7 news reports by Bernie Sargent on El Paso History TV about Waco tanks, the Franklin Mountains, Concordia Cemetery, and more. The YouTube channel also has more than 100 videos about El Paso history with lectures, documentaries, and various history clips. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV and find out how Texas history begins in El Paso. Monterey Asset Management is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, maybe you should invest in real estate. Monterey Asset manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the new website, m1ep.com, m1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call Certified Property Manager Ray Baca, 915-592-4549, 592-4549.
Here's the deal. When you combine State Farm home and auto insurance, you save an average of $889. State Farm agent Ralph Dickerson is ready to help you combine home and auto and save here in El Paso. Call 915-581-0000 today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Average annual per household savings based on a 2019 national survey by State Farm of new policyholders who reported savings by switching to State Farm.
You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live with video right here on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com. Our live streaming on Facebook started on November 21st, 2020, with our tribute to Leon Metz, which you can now listen to here on our Facebook page, El Paso History Radio Show. Scroll down our page to find that archive in our videos section. You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440.
Are you ready for this week only in El Paso Inc.?
See which bars rose to the top in sales in 2021.
Also in the ink, in the COVID-19 housing market, the dream of home ownership is growing more out of reach for the middle class.
Why some council members are proposing city charter changes that would let voters rein in the mayor's powers.
Also, El Paso Inc.'s business journal, El Paso Inc., is available for home or business delivery To receive El Paso ink, order it online at elpasoink.com. And now we're going to announce some changes here coming to the El Paso History Radio Show. I've been hosting this show for 2 decades plus, and the time has come to step down. I hate to do that, but I think we're going to have to do that. I'll be retiring from the El Paso History Radio Show in mid-March, and we're going to take a leave here. And along with some other changes behind the scenes, the show will go on as Andrew J. Polk. Andrew J. Polk will step in as the new host of the show. Andrew?
Yeah, I'm very excited to be doing so because, I've grown up with El Paso history. I love talking about it and everything going on with it. So I will be stepping in to host the show and keep doing what we're doing here, talking about these fascinating different aspects about El Paso history and teaching the history that I didn't learn in school either, except for the fact that I've been involved in the production of El Paso's history for decades myself here, and then for the last several years on the production of this show itself here. So very excited to step into this and keep going and keep talking about El Paso history on Saturdays 10 to noon.
And we can still come in as contributors now and then.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. All right, Melissa, here we go.
I'll be missing it.
Yeah, same here. All right, Heribert von Feilitzsch is in the house. We're talking about all kinds of things here. And where do you want to go next? You got more dynamite in your pocket? Be careful.
Don't want to get arrested.
No.
Maybe before we go, I would like to go into the Punitive Expedition. But before that, I'm one of your biggest fans.
I know you are.
Jackson. I really am. I love this show, and I just think
you listen every week. We check in. Yeah.
And Andrew, I'm very happy for you to continue this. But as a fan and as somebody that came from the East Coast to pilgrimage to your show several times over the years,
Thank you for doing
that. I
that.
want to say what a great show you've created and how important this is.
I think it'll continue because Andrew knows how to do this.
Yeah.
He's been the board operator here for several years, and he's watched me for a number of years. And Melissa and I will miss doing this, but I think we're both on to different things.
Well, I'm going to start a podcast with Bernie. We're going to be doing on Texas history as a whole, Texas history A to Z. So we'll be talking to you in the future too.
Well, I'd love to.
Yeah, because we talk about all of the Texas history besides El Paso.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
All right, so let's go into the Punitive Expedition, right? So we just talked about the Columbus attack. 18 Americans were killed, 9 of them soldiers, 9 of them residents. The whole town burned down. People were really upset. There's Major Thompson, who wrote a great book about this. His pursuit of the Vistas. He got on some horses with a bunch of troops, and they chased the Vistas back into Mexico. Pancho Villa lost. They don't know exactly how many, but it was definitely over 100 people out of 400. So it's a quarter of his troops were killed. Immediately in the aftermath, the United States starts a punitive expedition. So they want to go into Mexico. They want to hunt down the people that committed this, among others, of course, Pancho Villa.
Who decided to actually do that? Was it President Wilson or Pershing or who?
Well, it was brought to, so Tompkins couldn't stay long in Mexico, so he came right back. And so the Wilson administration immediately, I would think that probably Hugh Lennox Scott, the chief of the army, was the one that probably said, okay, let's go, let's do something. The difficulty, of course, was to get some kind of agreement with the Mexican government. At that time, Carranza is the de facto president. And so they...
1916.
Yeah, so they tried to get his agreement, and I think historians are still battling out exactly what that agreement meant, but the U.S. interpreted it as we can go, and Carranza interpreted it as I never said that. Yeah.
Politician.
One of those things. But I guess if you have troops massing on your border, what can you say, right? Actually, when the first incursion started, just a few days later, there was a border guard in Palomas, and he wouldn't let Pershing through.
From Mexico?
Did he ask permission or what?
Well, no, he said, hey, I don't have, I'm not allowed to let you through here. And
you have your FM3, which
so
is a work permit.
I think they gave him a job as a scout in the army or something like that. And so he got some money, and that opened the border, I suppose.
That is too funny.
But anyway, so when this happened, here is Drebin and Holmdahl, and they go like, whoa, another war, let's participate. And so both of them sign up with the army.
And they got into Mexico.
Yeah, so they sign up, and this is a very interesting aspect because Drebin actually turns out to be a very friendly with Pershing, and I always try to figure out where that came from. When I researched it, so Pershing was actually in the Philippines when Drebin was in the Philippines. They weren't in the same unit, Pershing had more like an administrative staff position. But it is possible that they knew each other already from there. And,
or he knew maybe of Drebin's reputation, perhaps.
That could be. And, and then, of course, in the Mexican Revolution, Pershing followed the Mexican Revolution like most American commanders. So he could have heard of Drebin then. So anyway, so he hires Drebin and Holmdahl as scouts. And makes sense, right? These guys been riding through northern Mexico for all these years, so they knew their way around. And so they both hire up as scouts. Both of them get fired pretty quickly. So it didn't last very long. And these two stories are kind of funny, if I may talk about them. So Drebin, we said already earlier, had a problem with his gambling fortunes. And so he got fired because he was accused of fleecing American soldiers in poker games. So that didn't work out too well. And Holmdahl is a really interesting story. He was on a so one of the people that were in the Punitive Expedition was a man named George S. Patton. I don't know if anybody
heard of him.
Yeah, heard of him. Okay, so
yes,
George Patton, a lieutenant at the time. His sister actually was dating John Pershing. So this is
I didn't know that.
Little social dirt on the side.
Yeah, how about that connection?
Yeah. So Patton, Lieutenant Patton, is on a shopping mission with I think 2 or 3 cars. One of the people with him is Emil Holmdahl, and on the way back from shopping, Patton had the idea: let's drive by this house of the Villista Cervantes, his mom's house actually, and just see if he's there by accident. They pull up in front of the house, and a rain of gunfire starts. So obviously he was home. And so the Americans get out of their cars, they run around the house and so forth. And pretty soon Cervantes is dead. And one of Patton's nicknames is called Blood and Guts. He had that in World War II. He got that from that raid because he actually strapped the dead soldiers on the hood of his Dodge car.
Oh, no.
And drove them back into the barracks.
Oh,
but here's the funny story. What happened then is, obviously, Patton filed a report with Pershing that said that he killed Cervantes. And so when I looked at Holmdahl's papers and I was trying to figure out what did he actually get fired for, I came up with this crazy story, namely that a letter was written by Patton just a few weeks later in which he's stating unequivocally that it was actually Emil Holmdahl, for whoever this may concern, Emil Holmdahl killed Cervantes. So obviously he had been caught in a lie, and Holmdahl had complained about it, and a few weeks later he was fired.
I want to make sure we get to the rest of the Sam Dreben story because we're going to run out of time here.
Yeah.
Where do we need to go next on Sam? And we're going to take a break.
Yeah, so Sam is a scout, and probably...
You got to get him into a businessman.
Okay, so he's a scout. He then, as we know, the Punitive Expedition ends 9 months later. Vienna was never caught. And so then World War I starts. And so Drebin, even though he was fired, goes to Pershing. Pershing says, okay, fine, let's go. And so Drebin hires up with the U.S. Army, goes to France, and obviously did incredible stuff. He comes back with a whole chest full of medals and so forth. We can see this picture here that French medals, and so he obviously did really well. And so then he comes back and starts the Adventurers Club. So 1921, we have a picture of that online. He's the president of the Adventurers Club of El Paso.
They look respectable.
Very respectable. He had finally saved up some money and invested in oil land and worked in the insurance business. And, we can see another picture. Yes, there's a picture with him that where he looks very respectable in a suit and tie and so forth.
That's one we used on Facebook, yeah.
Yeah. And he remarried. So his first wife was actually not faithful to him. So when he came back from World War I, he divorced her. A horrible story. They had lost their little daughter already in 1917. So this was not a happy marriage.
We'll pick it up there because he keeps going for a little
Okay.
while.
All
We're
right.
taking a break here on the El Paso History Radio Show. Back in just a moment.
Many retired.
You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440-2140 for Mission Del Rey Southwest.
This radio show is now streaming on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Barbara Given Bainey. We still archive the audio of these radio shows on ephistory.com. And you can go there online and find our radio shows for the last several years. Go to ephistory.com and access the El Paso History Radio Show archives for every Saturday radio show back to early 2016.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his legacy home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.com. Take a look at recent ABC 7 news reports by Bernie Sargent on El Paso History TV about Waco tanks, the Franklin Mountains, Concordia Cemetery, and more. The YouTube channel also has more than 100 videos about El Paso history with lectures, documentaries, and various history clips. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV and find out how Texas history begins in El Paso. Monterey Asset Management is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, maybe you should invest in real estate. Monterey Asset manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the new website, m1ep.com, m1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call Certified Property Manager Ray Baca, 915-592-4549, 592-4549.
Here's the deal. When you combine State Farm home and auto insurance, you save an average of $889. State Farm agent Ralph Dickerson is ready to help you combine home and auto and save here in El Paso. Call 915-581-0000 today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Average annual per household savings based on a 2019 national survey by State Farm of new policyholders who reported savings by switching to State Farm.
You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live with video right here on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com. Our live streaming on Facebook started on November 21st, 2020, with our tribute to Leon Metz, which you can now listen to here on our Facebook page, El Paso History Radio Show. Scroll down our page to find that archive in our videos section. You are listening to a break in our Facebook streaming of the El Paso History Radio Show, which airs live on KTSM AM 690 in El Paso, Texas, and live right here now on our El Paso History Radio Show page on Facebook.com.
Visit Mission Del Rey Southwest for a huge selection of El Paso souvenirs and gifts. Mission Del Rey features El Paso saddle blanket products and thousands of Southwest, Western, Native American, and Mexico items for gifts and decor. Bring your friends and mention you heard us on the radio for a store-wide discount. Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino. Enter on Pelicano. Go to missiondelrey.com or call 915-440-2140 for Mission Del Rey Southwest.
This radio show is now streaming on the Facebook page Remember in El Paso When, run by Barbara Given Bainey. We still archive the audio of these radio shows on ephistory.com. And you can go there online and find our radio shows for the last several years. Go to ephistory.com and access the El Paso History Radio Show archives for every Saturday radio show back to early 2016.
Yes, we are all going to Pepe's after the show today, so meet us out there, 6761 Donovan Drive. and buy your own lunch. You'll give away books.
I give away some books. So
Okay, fair enough.
First
Buy
come,
him
first
lunch.
serve.
Yeah, all right. Just a note, remember to visit the McGoffin Home State Historic Site. There's somebody we'll always mention. They're downtown on McGoffin Avenue. What a coincidence. 915-533-5147. Check them. They have new hours of operations going on down there. What do you got?
Well, there's 2 hikes coming up in the Franklin Mountain State Park, and tomorrow is a woman's hike, and they'll learn about best hiking practices and the unique desert ecosystems, and that will start at 8 a.m., and then you have Saturday, February 26th at 4 p.m., they're going to have a bat walk, and if you're curious about our friendly neighborhood sky monkeys or bats, or a little scared of flying vampires, you can get out there and learn a lot more about that. And you can call Diana Moy for details at 915-444-9100, or you can visit tpwd.texas.gov Franklin Mountains, and you'll find out all their hikes and adventures coming up.
Heribert von Feilitzsch is still in the house. And we have a wrap-up we're going to do here. We've had a lot of comments on Facebook about things, and the people sad we're leaving, but hey, they're glad Andrew's going to take it over. So this will be a great radio show for a long time. But back to your thoughts. Where are we?
Well, we just ended World War I, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was his job in Europe?
I give up what?
Machine gun.
Oh, what a surprise.
Probably trained a lot of men. And
No machina loca. But one of the things he was very distinguished for something he did in Saint-Étienne, where he rushed a German position with his machine gun, holding his machine gun while he's running and shooting. I don't think the Germans have ever seen anything like that before.
Wow.
So there's the crazy Drebin running over the hills. But so he got, let me see here, all kinds of crosses. And so Distinguished Service Cross, Croix de Guerre, Médaille Militaire. So he comes back, highly decorated. Pershing definitely knew then very well. He gave an interview and said that Sam Dreben is the most courageous soldier he's ever met.
Then he came back to El Paso, got married again.
Yeah, moves to El Paso, 1919. Again, is one of the very well distinguished citizens here in town.
I saw that picture. I'm looking pretty classy there.
Yeah. Is the president of the Adventurers Club with Tracy Richardson and I don't know who else was part of it. I was hoping Somerville would be part of it, but I think he was still cooling his heels in prison at that time.
Oh, okay.
And so he makes money. So he obviously invested in oil lands. He had an insurance business.
After all the soldier of fortune stuff.
Yeah. So
he moves to L.A. and dies.
Yeah. So he remarries. And do you know how he died?
The wrong thing, shot in the arm.
Horrible. Yeah. So a nurse gave him an injection with the wrong stuff.
So that's the end of Sam Dreben in L.A.
1925.
Well, I wanted to wrap that up before we go, but I also want to show some posters here. You have books that you've done, and also there was people asking about, and here's some of the books here. Shall we put those up? And those are some of the things you've done already.
Yeah. So these are books basically covering the Mexican Revolution and World War I. And my emphasis, of course, my specialty is the German Secret Service and agents.
Where do they find out about you and your books?
You can go to Amazon. Of course, you can just Google me. I also have a website, www.felixsomerville.com. And
you're big on that guy.
I am. And on Facebook, it's called Facebook.com/Secret War Council.
Okay. Also, there were some posters that we were going to put up. People ask about the posters. Were they real or were they created? Those are real original posters.
Those are real posters. And, that's Melissa was talking about that. The first poster here is a recruitment poster of gringos, right? So Mexican Revolution is happening and boys sign up and you get good money.
Paid in gold.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out how much money did they actually make. And
or if they even got paid in some cases.
Yeah. And so, a Mexican general made about what is today equivalent about $60,000 a year. And if you were successful, you could go over 100,000. Holmdahl, whose papers I found in California, he made 120,000 in today's money. So he made really good money.
Have we covered what you wanted to say today?
I think so. Maybe the last poster, the wanted poster.
Oh, you got that one? There it is.
Here we go.
And that's a real one.
That's also a real one. This was issued after the raid on Columbus, and it basically rewards $5,000 for anybody that can arrest or kill Pancho Villa, which didn't happen, of course. But you can see, and this is, I think, what's the important part of these mercenaries. They worked for wherever the wind was blowing from, and at first as gringos in the Madeira Revolution. Then they supported people that were against Madeira. Then they supported people that were against Villa and for Villa.
Could you really trust these guys?
No.
The
other thing is, for Drebin, this World War I thing, he did have two treasures, one of his biographers said, in his life. One treasure was that he was Jewish, and the other treasure was that he was an American citizen.
Oh, my.
Fantastic.
Interesting stuff. Yeah. Well, Heribert von Feilitzsch, I very much thank you for coming in and doing this. And you're local now because you're writing a book.
I am.
And you're helping an author in Las Cruces put things together, and you're kind of researching everything. And I really appreciate your interest in our radio show. It's been kind of refreshing to find someone like you. And I think we have a lot of people out there that think what we do is a good idea. Just to remind people, this tradition will continue with Andrew J. Polk as host coming up toward the middle of March. And we've got several more shows we're going to do here. So you ready for that, Melissa?
Yes, I do. We got quite a few more to do.
It's quite an interesting future.
Keep
we're going to
going.
No, we'll do that. Until Pepe's at lunch, what are you going to order? You don't know yet.
Well, I was thinking about that huge margarita that you're talking about.
Oh, my.
The Juan and only.
Yeah,
Juan and only.
Juan prepares it himself, and you get to drink it. Well, thank you for coming in, bringing the pictures and everything you do. It's been an interesting story here.
And I'll be posting the your website also on the Facebook page, as well as I just did on the Facebook feed for the show.
Excellent.
Super. Thank you.
And so if you really want to see what happened today in the terms of pictures and such, go to our page there on Facebook, El Paso History Radio Show, and this whole show is archived there. It's also archived on YouTube, and that's kind of how things are going these days. If you want to see an archive of what we do, that's where you can find them. All right, it's going to be an interesting day out of Pepe's. I hope the place fills up because they need the business, and they're good at it. And it's new Mexican food. We really appreciate what they do.
Delicious.
All right. Andrew, you going to join us out there later? Yep. Andrew J. Polk will come out there and also sup with us. That was we have lunch there. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week on the El Paso History Radio Show. Melissa, it's been fun, as always.
As always, we'll see you up there at lunch, and we'll see you all next week.
It's been fun for years, sir. I really appreciate how you operate.
11 years for me, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks a lot. Good stuff. Talk to you again next week on the El Paso History Radio Show. Thanks a lot.